Hey guys, this is Snackattack8. Welcome back to another installment of my review series. Today we're going to be reviewing the game EarthBound, or in Japan, Mother 2, an RPG for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, or SNES as it is usually referred to. It was released in North America on June 1st, 1995. Developed by Ape Inc., which is actually now Creatures Inc. They co-own the Pokemon franchise, if I'm not mistaken, and HAL Laboratory of Kirby and Super Smash Bros. Fame. It was published by Nintendo, and you all know who they are. Now, when EarthBound was released in the United States, it didn't sell very well, and for that reason it's become one of Nintendo's more unrecognized franchises. The game has become a cult classic over the years, and it does have a really strong, dedicated fan base, but the fact still remains that most gamers, and even some of those who consider themselves like classic gamers, who may have heard of EarthBound, that most gamers still haven't played it. And I never would have gotten into playing this game unless I had received a recommendation from someone else. And that's really what I want this review to be. I want to share my thoughts on EarthBound and maybe inspire you guys to try it out for yourselves. So let's get started. So first we're going to go over the story. On a distant night in a small town called Onet, a mysterious meteorite crashes into a hill, and shortly after this, our hero, Ness, or whatever you choose to name him, is woken up by his neighbor, whose name is Pokey, to go check the meteorite out. When Ness gets to the meteorite, he meets this small winged creature known as Buzz, who is not a bee, and is apparently from 10 years in the future. Buzz tells Ness that the future is dominated by this evil alien known as Gigas, who is sort of just like this ultimate evil in the universe, and is actually a pretty terrifying villain. So anyway, yeah, Gigas is dominating the future, and he's too powerful to be destroyed there, but he can be destroyed in Ness's time, and that's why Buzz has come. Apparently, according to Buzz, Ness is one of these 4 destined kids known as the Chosen 4, who can defeat Gigas. Now, how they should go about doing this is collecting 8 melodies in a rock called the Soundstone from all across the world. And once they have these 8 melodies, they can be infused with the Earth's power and finally defeat Gigas once and for all. So the story shows Ness's journey, and later on the journey of him and his 3 companions, who are Paula, Jeff, and Pooh, and, you know, their travels and their quest to get the 8 melodies and stop Gigas from destroying their world. Now, right off the bat, you're going to realize that EarthBound's story is a lot different than, you know, your typical JRPG story. So you're not going to have your spiky-haired protagonist or your elf or your mage. You're just going to have these 4 kids with their psychic powers. And the game, it doesn't take place in, you know, a medieval fantasy setting. It's more of like an urban setting where you'll be exploring places like, you know, video game arcades or big skyscraper-filled cities. And then there are also just these weird locations, like a city infested with zombies, or a town populated by these little creatures who are all named Mr. Saturn. So it is a charming and unique plot, and it definitely does things differently. But when you really look at its core, it's actually in reality pretty simple. So that means you're not going to get your usual RPG plot twists. Your main characters hardly speak at all, which means you're not going to get much character development or exposition. But in my opinion, the game does make up for this in what is, in my opinion, its best and strongest aspect, the writing. The writing in EarthBound is fantastic. Pretty much every single line in this game was written by the series creator Shigesato Itoi, and he just did an amazing job with it. The game is packed full of some of the most memorable, quotable, and hilarious lines in video game history, and I think that's pretty remarkable considering mostly none of them are spoken by the main characters. So even the most insignificant NPCs who are just standing around will say something that'll make you like chuckle or put a smile on your face. Another thing that I liked about this game is that even though your main characters don't talk often and you don't really have that much depth to them, you still find yourself connecting to them because, well, they're just normal kids. And, well, I mean, in my opinion, the fact that they were just kids, of course, minus the psychic powers, and they were going through these situations in which kids shouldn't be forced to go through, I could connect to them more through that. So all in all, it's not the most complex story, but it is unique and different, and combined with the great writing makes it something really special. So now we're going to go over the gameplay. Outside of battles, there's not too much to talk about. You know, basic RPG setup, you walk around, you can pick up items, talk to people, that kind of stuff. So yeah, the real focus of the gameplay in this game, like any RPG should have, is on the battle system. EarthBound's battle system can be compared very closely to that of another RPG franchise that was popular at the time, the Dragon Warrior series. And while it is true that the battles in both games are very similar, EarthBound does a few things to change this up. For one, when you're before you've actually gone into the battle, when you're walking around on screen, there are no random encounters. You'll see every single enemy as a sprite that appears on screen that will chase after you to hunt you down. And this is something that most RPGs weren't doing at the time, and it's really a welcome addition because nobody likes random battles. No one ever liked random battles. Another thing that EarthBound does that's different is during battle, instead of just taking damage, when your characters are hit by an attack, their HP will roll, sort of. It's got these little ticks. It's like a counter system. So they won't die directly, even if they take damage that's higher than their HP, because the damage has to roll down to 0. And this gives you time to, you know, rush to save them, and actually adds a element of excitement and like urgency to the game. While these two additions are nice, they're not complete and total game changers, and the fact still remains that EarthBound's battle system is very similar and could almost be described as a knockoff of Dragon Warriors. Of course, that's not taking into effect EarthBound's general prevailing style, which really sets the two apart. EarthBound's wacky, zany sense of humor permeates even into the battle system. So you'll be fighting enemies like hippies who brush their teeth instead of attacking, members of a cult obsessed with painting the world blue, walking cups of coffee, a group of 5 moles, each of whom thinks they're the 3rd strongest, and giant piles of puke, just to name a few. And even the attacks that these enemies do will make you crack up, and you even get some attack items that are just ridiculously hilarious and awesome. And it's this general humorous take on battles that really makes EarthBound, again, sit in a league of its own. EarthBound's graphics aren't bad, it's just that they're simple, and they're not as technically impressive as some of the other SNES titles. Although I think this can be overlooked a little, the game still is very artistically impressive graphic-wise, and you can see this when you're fighting enemies and how they're drawn very well. There are some nice effects, like during battle your backgrounds will be like these swirling, hypnotic, colorful patterns, and your main character's psychic attacks come out as these like crazy flashing geometric shapes, and that all looks really nice. EarthBound's graphical style is different, and that works with the rest of the game. EarthBound's music also works extraordinarily well with the game. There are a huge amount of tracks. You've got your, you know, happy, innocent music for when you're walking through towns and cities. You've got weird, just indescribably strange music for when you're fighting these crazy, zany enemies. Even some of the tracks take inspiration from actual artists like Chuck Berry and the Beatles. Pretty much every track is memorable, and to me the music is really one of the highest points of this game. There were a couple flaws I found with this game. The item inventory is really a pain to use, and the items don't stack, so you're going to be buying, if you're buying multiple recovery items, you're just going to have to take up multiple spaces for those. And it's hard to manage and sort of get rid of what you don't want. It's just kind of clunky. Another thing I didn't like so much is that one character, Jeff, has the ability to use this item called a bottle rocket, and these bottle rockets just at any level do a huge amount of damage, and I felt that that was sort of a game-breaking kind of thing, and didn't really like that too much. Another potential flaw, I guess, is the game's weird, crazy, zany sort of style. Personally, I loved it, I ate it up, but I could see how some people who are more fans of the traditional RPG style might not enjoy it as much. I don't think these flaws are ever too big of a problem, and all the rest of the awesome stuff in this game really makes up for them. To sum it all up, EarthBound's a hilarious, unique, heartwarming game that's not afraid to do things differently. Even today, it still really can't be compared to any other RPG out there, with the exclusion, obviously, of its sequel, Mother 3. This game is really something that you should experience as a video gamer, and I definitely encourage everyone who's watching this review to find a way to play it, even if that means you have to dabble in emulator type things. For a score, I'm going to give EarthBound a 9 out of 10. This has been Snackattack8, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.